everyone, and welcome back to another Spanish lesson.
In the last few months, we've published several videos on the imperative mood, or simply commands in Spanish. We published a video on formal commands using usted and ustedes, as well as informal to commands and nosotros commands. So today, for our final video in the command series, we'll go over vosotros commands.
If you want to learn all the formal and informal command conjugations, rules, and test yourself against our examples, we'll leave those links in the description of this video.
Now, vosotros commands are used in Spain to give orders or suggestions to a group of people in informal situations. Remember, in Latin America, we'll use ustedes commands to talk to a group of people, whether it's formal or informal. So let's first see how to conjugate vosotros commands, and then we'll get into plenty of examples so that you can understand and start using them today.
A side note, remember, I'm from Mexico and here we don't use those commands, so my pronunciation might not be the perfect one, but I'll try it. First, affirmative commands using regular verbs. We remove the R of the infinitive and we add a D. So hablar would become hablad. Comer would become comer. Escribir would become escribir.
Okay, so for example, we could say something like speak louder.
Hablad más alto.
Or eat more vegetables.
Comed más verduras.
Or write your names on the paper.
Escribid vuestros nombres en el papel.
So that's easy enough, but how do we conjugate negative vosotros commands?
Use the vosotros form of the present subjunctive. An AR verb becomes ACE. An ER and IR verb becomes ICE. Then you place a no before the verb. So mirar becomes no miréis. Leer becomes no leáis. And escribir becomes no escribáis.
Okay, so for example, we could say something like, don't look at the sun.
No miréis el sol.
Or don't read that book.
No leáis ese libro.
Don't write on the wall.
No escribáis en la pared.
Now, one quick thing to note is that luckily there are no irregular verbs that we need to learn. However, if we use affirmative vosotros commands with direct object pronouns, with indirect object pronouns, or with reflexive pronouns, there are some additional rules we need to learn. So, how do we conjugate affirmative vosotros commands with pronouns?
First, drop the R of the infinitive and add a D. Then, add an accent if needed for pronunciation. And the direct and indirect object pronouns are attached at the end of the command. So, comed la pizza becomes comedla. Decid la verdad a mí, decídmela.
Now, for reflexive verbs, we drop the D and add os. For example,
levantarse becomes levantaos. So, acostarse becomes acuestaos.
Now, the only exception to this rule is with the verb ir, where we keep the D and then add os. So something like go away would be idos. Now, if we want to form negative vosotros commands using direct object pronouns or indirect object pronouns or reflexive pronouns, how would it be?
Use the subjunctive form. For AR verbs, it becomes ACE. And for ER and IR verbs, it becomes ICE. And then all pronouns go before the verb. So, for example, no comáis la pizza becomes no la comáis. No digáis la verdad a mí becomes no me la digáis.
And if we wanted to use a reflexive pronoun to say something like don't get up.
No os levantéis. Now, we have to take a quick second to thank our supporters and members. Thanks to Chris Murtag for becoming a YouTube member. Your support helps us create lessons like this to improve your Spanish. Gracias, primo.
Now, if you'd like to become a member, check out the links in the description of this video. We have links for Patreon memberships, for YouTube memberships, and to buy me a coffee, so it's really easy to sign up to receive exclusive benefits or donate to the channel. In Patreon, for example, we post 2 extra video lessons every month, as well as an exercise audio comprehension from Darcy, so check it out. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you still haven't, and share this video so that our lessons can reach more and more Spanish students. Thank you all so much. Now, to wrap up, let's go over a variety of commands using affirmative commands, negative commands, and pronouns so that you really get it down. So, if we want the affirmative vosotros command for cross the street,
we need the verb cruzar. So we drop the R and we add a D and we get cruzar, cruzar la calle.
and if we want the negative vosotros command for don't forget the appointment,
we need the verb olvidar, and we conjugate it into the present subjunctive olvidéis, and then we add the no. No olvidéis la cita.
and if we want the affirmative vosotros command for bring me the keys, but with a direct object pronoun for keys,
we need the verb traer. So we drop the R of the infinitive and we add a D, traer, and then we attach las for the keys. So it becomes traerlas.
Now, if we want a negative vosotros command for don't open the windows, but we want to attach a direct object pronoun for windows, how would it be?
We need the verb abrir, and we conjugate it into the present subjunctive, so we get abráis, and place las before the verb for the windows, and then also we add a no, so we get no las abráis.
Now, if we want the affirmative vosotros command for sit down,
we need the reflexive verb sentarse. We drop the R and we add a D. Then we replace the D with os and it becomes sentaos.
if we want the negative vosotros command for don't get angry,
we need the reflexive verb enojarse. We conjugate it into the present subjunctive and we get enojéis. We place an os before the verb and add a no, so we get no os enojéis.
if we want the affirmative vosotros command for give us the documents, but we want to use a direct object pronoun for documents and an indirect object pronoun for us, how would it be?
We need the verb dar. So we drop the R and we add the D and we get that. Then we attach nos for the indirect object pronoun and then los for the direct object pronoun. And we'll get darnos los.
And lastly, if we want the negative vosotros command for don't send them to me, but we want to substitute them for our direct object pronoun and me for an indirect object pronoun, how would it be?
We need the verb enviar and we conjugate it into the present subjunctive enviéis. Then we place me for the indirect object pronoun and los for the direct object pronoun before the verb. And then we add our no. So we get no me los enviéis.
And that's it. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other lessons like this.
Now watch this video to keep improving your Spanish.
Until next time.